Hi, my name's Dr. Ross Hauser. Welcome to the Hauser Neck Center here in Fort Myers, Florida, here with a very interesting fellow, Dan. And we were just talking beforehand, and you were just telling me how you just had an accident that didn't, it wasn't a very, well, why don't you just describe the accident that you had, and then maybe describe your symptoms, and then I'll just tell a story. You know, I'd love to tell stories.
So it was a pretty
this was in 2021.
2021, right? Yeah, fall of 2021. I kind of just like tripped and bumped into the wall, and it was a very minor impact, like not something you would think would trigger any symptoms. And so that was a problem I had explaining to, doctors when I first went through the medical system. They had a hard time understanding that too. But I woke up the next morning, and when that injury happened too, I immediately felt movement in the back of my head. Like I knew something was wrong, and I immediately felt fogginess. And so, I knew something was wrong, and the next morning I had my muscles completely tightened in my neck, and I had nausea, dizziness, all those symptoms. And when I try to explain that, to doctors, and they put me through imaging, they're like, everything's fine. You shouldn't have nausea from a neck injury. And so that left me searching for answers for, a couple of years until I'd finally decided I'm going to come to Caring Medical and, do the comprehensive treatment to address this injury that I believed I have, because I've looked at your stuff so much, and the way you described it, I'm like, this is exactly what I have. This seems to be the only person that...
Yeah, what was your myriad of symptoms that you had? Because you had a lot of symptoms.
Yeah, fogginess.
And then we're meeting today because you've had 7 visits, and today's your 8th and hopefully your last one.
Yeah.
But what were the initial symptoms that you came with, and how severe was each of the symptoms?
So the fogginess, it was severe, so it would impact me throughout the entire day. It would be something that I would feel the effects, like this overpowering effect of fogginess that I would have to overcome to just begin my task.
Because you work as a civil engineer, right?
Yeah. So
it's getting harder and harder to do.
Problem solving, I definitely felt that. Okay. That's where I definitely realized it. And then the nausea, the dizziness.
Like all the time you felt nauseated?
That would happen towards the end of the workday. So and I think it's because the more stress I placed on my neck by being out of position throughout the workday, it was pressing on that vagus nerve and, all the nerves in the jugular veins, and that's what kind of triggered those symptoms to be debilitating by the end of the day. And then, I'd just in my mind, I'd be like, okay, just get home and then just rest up and, try to get through tomorrow. That's kind of how it was. I wasn't really able to do anything afterwards. On a bad day, be able to hang out with friends or exercise. But during the whole treatment protocol, I've felt slowly by each treatment, just how that's no longer affecting me that same way, and I'm in control of my symptoms.
So why don't we just go through all the symptoms? So you had 7 prolotherapy visits. Then we had you raise your computer height.
Yeah.
And we gave you some things to do for your neck.
Yep.
And then, so is the nausea all the way gone or partially gone?
So I would say it's fully gone. When I'm in a controlled environment and able to be, hold my head up and throughout the workday, I feel great. I do notice sometimes during random situations, I'm maybe not able to hold it in that position like I usually do, and I could feel symptoms maybe creep back in, but I know now what to do to prevent that from happening. And
is it a lot easier to work? Is your brain functioning?
Definitely. Everything's clearer. It's kind of back to where I was before. It's I definitely took that for granted because I realized sometimes it just became so much harder to get normal things done.
You didn't talk you talked some about neck pain.
Yeah.
So when you first got the injury, and I'll discuss how minor injuries can cause severe symptoms, but did you have a lot of neck pain initially or not that much?
Yeah, I did, immediate tightness, and I just reading through your videos and articles, the weakness in the ligament caused the muscles to then try to compensate for that and then try to stabilize the neck through that. And so my neck muscles immediately tightened. The following morning from that injury I noticed.
Did that all go away or no?
I would say there's just slight stiffness and tightness, but
so you feel like you're about 90% there?
Yeah, I would, but I mean, comparing to where I was, I mean, it's
Magnitude's
night and day.
better.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Okay.
After every treatment, I'm like, oh, now this is my new 90%. Like I didn't even think I could get to this point again.
Didn't you have some dizziness too when
Yeah.
you first started? So how's that doing?
Good. It's kind of the dizziness and the vertigo, and that all kind of is like comes together. The nausea, like all those three things happen at the same time. It
So
seems
that's
like
pretty much gone.
yeah, that's gone.
Head pressure.
Head pressure is way better. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Did you have any visual things?
Yeah, I would get like just vision changes.
Like a little bit of blurriness?
Yeah.
Even if it's just for a little bit?
Yep. Yeah. Dry eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did that go away?
Yeah. All my symptoms improved drastically. So it's been so encouraging to see those results. And
Did you ever see an ophthalmologist?
Yeah, I have.
Did you actually go there because you were having blurry vision, or it was just like for your eyeglasses?
Oh, just for my eyeglasses. It was
Okay.
like basically they didn't see anything what was wrong.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Were you starting to get like anxiety and depression and stuff, or not?
Oh yeah, because I was
Right.
like
Well, they couldn't find anything.
yeah, and then I had to kind of like take control of that, advocate for myself, and then reach out to you, and yeah, it's been since then it's been amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Now, were you an avid exerciser before the injury, or not really?
I was, but now I've taken it to another level. Like I understand the importance of exercise, and now I've created like an exercise program where I make sure that I'm not placing stress on my neck. So like the curve correction protocol, I've tried to apply that like to every aspect.
Okay.
So
like when you work out, you just, you're not like.
Yeah, I'm not like too much weight. Like back I've had injuries in the past where I would like try to lift too much weight and it's not realistic, and then. Now I'm always thinking to myself, like, well, how is my neck? Am I still able to maintain proper posture? Because if not, then you're weakening all those.
That's great.
Those areas. So.
A lot of people don't know this about me, but basically, I joined Dr. Hemmel in January of 1993. And you got to realize, when I first joined him, he's been doing prolotherapy like for 40 years, and he's 85 and I'm 30. So nobody wanted to see me. Would you want to see like this young guy when the guru? So I had extra time. So what I did was, between 1993 and 1995, I did a lot of medical legal chart reviews. Like I was getting paid per hour to be an expert witness. And I was unique in that I would take on cases that were plaintiff. Like, in other words, the person, really was injured during the car accident. And then I would take on cases where I was for the defendant. Like I tried to be truly independent. Like that's kind of what made me unique. So even back then, before the cell phone era and everything, because there would be these cases where there's no damage to the car. You know what I mean? Like there would be so little force, but yet the person would be so disabled. So I just want to talk about that, because basically we all know this saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. So in other words, was it mainly the straw that broke this big camel's back, or was the camel's back already in a very, very compromised state? So you told me, right? You said, hey, what I think it was, or at least a lot had to do with, I was a student, right? Mm-hmm. So why don't you talk about that? Like, it was, as a civil engineer, man, it must have been like hours and hours and hours looking down.
Right, yeah. Solving problems for homework assignments, just reading textbooks. Like, I definitely, invested a lot of time into that. And looking back on it, like when I was in the moment, I'm like, oh, this is great. This is something that's, good for me, which like it is. But, for my neck, I didn't really understand what effects that would have until later. And then you're exactly right. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. That's how I look at it. And then just sports and, the stresses that come with that. So,
like during the hurricane, the palm trees, the palm trees, none of them went down basically. Because in other words, they're bendable. When you have a normal curve, when we have the normal curves, the neck can handle so much force. So in other words, what really breaks the camel's back is when you lose the normal curve. So in other words, you know, for years and years, you know, you're doing college, then you get a job as a civil engineer, and you don't realize, like, you lost the cervical curve. Then you bump into the wall. You know, you bump into the wall. Like, in other words, if you had a normal cervical curve and you bumped into the wall, it can handle that kind of a force.
Yep.
When I was in grade school, we would play dodgeball. Like, that was, in other words, in gym class, you're trying to take a ball and hit your friend in the face. Like, in other words, the kids could handle all the force of getting smashed in the face. Like, nobody ended up with cervical instability. Because at the time, in grade school, everybody's looking up. Like, we look up at the teacher. So everybody had a beautiful cervical curve. I have kids. I had this one teenager who, all that happened was a person threw a basketball at her and she missed it. And it was kind of like you. She got a little tap on the head. And she went from being an honor student at the age of 16 to reading at a third grade level. Like, that one basketball. So imagine, well, basically that teenager had they had a reversal of the curve. So then all it takes is a little hit on the head, and then all of a sudden you got your jugular veins are blocked. So that's why for all of us, we have got to try to maintain a cervical curve, because you could get some little fall, or you hit, you know, we all hit our head on a cabinet or something.
Right, yeah. That's exactly what happened to my neck. It's just, it was in a position where it wasn't able to handle those forces and it absorbed those shocks. I look at, like, professional athletes now, and I'm like, man, how doesn't that hurt their neck? But, you know, like, the way they train, they're so strong.
They have a lot. They have a lot of neck muscle. But but you know, I bet you a lot of them, after they stop training, you know, it's like football, rugby, like, especially football, man. It's like gladiators, man. Like, the amount of traumas that they have. That's why they got to wear all that equipment. Because if you think about it, like, why do they have to wear all the equipment? Because it's like,
the amount of force they're applying to each other, and the neck's just such a weak structure, you know, when you think about it, the way you've described it, you know, on your videos and articles, and how important it is too, with everything that flows to your brain, and the veins, and everything I've learned from it is just, like, been life-changing about how important it is. So,
just out of curiosity, like, how old are you?
29.
Okay, in your friend group, just out of curiosity, do you see, now that you've been awakened, if you will, to, like, bad posture and all the things, just out of curiosity, whether it's your friend group or family members that you know, would you say that some of them have symptoms that probably are from ligamentous cervical instability?
I could definitely see how people would be way more prone to it, because I see, you know, they're looking down at their phones, and I look at it from me before that impact happened, where it's like, you feel fine until something happens that just pushes you over the edge. That's when all those symptoms just pile on, and I just think all of us know people that are taking medicines for various symptoms. That's all I was saying, and they have no idea that it's the vagus or the jugular veins getting compressed, and then their brain. Like, think about all the people who have migraine headaches or tension headaches or all this stuff. It's likely the muscle tension they're feeling. It's from ligamentous cervical instability. Yeah, it's fascinating, all the effects that one injury has. And it's even a small injury, like only like just little movement, stretching of those ligaments, and you have all these symptoms. And I didn't really know much about anatomy or physiology or any of that. I'd never even taken a class in high school, so when I first watched your videos, it took me a little bit of, you know, Googling myself to understand, you know, how it works.
Was your family or your spouse, or were they supportive of you coming here, or they thought you were a nutcase? You live in Pittsburgh, and I live in, the office is in Fort Myers. Do you think, like, total nutcase, or they?
when I explained it to them, I made sure that I had done my research. They knew it was important to me, and they also knew that I've been struggling with this for 2 years, and I've tried a lot of avenues locally and wasn't finding any success for it. So I told them, like, hey, this is the most comprehensive program I found on the internet, and I'm at the point now where I'm willing to give it a try because,
Did you feel better right away, or it took a few treatments? Okay, so you knew right away it was going to work.
I did, because like I got the stiffness in my neck from the inflammation from the prolotherapy, and that kind of like gave me that support I was missing. And then, you know, once that subsided, I did have a reoccurrence of symptoms for the first couple times, but the stronger they got, like I saw those results build, and I knew that you need to stick with this because you're going to feel so much better afterwards. So
thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your story.
Absolutely.